So, welcome everybody to this New Year's community update. It's the first in the new year of 2024. So, thank you very much for joining. Welcome in the new year, and 2024 is going to be a great and big new year for Onino. We hope you all had a great start. You enjoyed the time with family, friends, and maybe are enjoying some snow or some good weather, depending where you are. I heard in Sweden it's pretty tough times and way up there. So, sending out our thoughts. Hope everyone is okay. I like snow, but not too much maybe. And let's start right away into this month's community update. And the first segment, as always, is what Onino is. And Lukas is going to explain to us in a couple of sentences what Onino is.
Yes, thank you very much, Alex. Also, a warm welcome from my side to everyone listening this either live or in recording later on. Like every month, we start with the general overview of what Onino is to give just a soft intro for everyone that is newly listening to Onino, has found Onino in the recent days. And as you see on the screen, Onino has a vision of making blockchain technology accessible and more user-friendly in the future. And to put things into simple terms, Onino is essentially doing two things. On the one hand, Onino is building its own blockchain protocol that basically is a main chain which allows developers to also deploy their own custom subchains within minutes and anchor them towards the main chain. So developers are enabled to easily integrate and develop and deploy their own custom layer 1 blockchains on top of our Onino main chain. And the other part, which is tailored towards making blockchain accessible and user-friendly, especially easing the barrier of entry for developers that have either low experience or already have vast experience, but not in the field of Web3, is our Onino Cloud Platform, which is a tool that someone on Twitter has rightfully put as something that can be the Shopify of Web3 for blockchain applications. And we allow developers or users to easily ideate, develop, deploy, and integrate blockchain solutions with the Onino Cloud Platform, and thus making not only the time to your first blockchain application much quicker, but also making everything in the whole process as frictionless as possible, as easy as possible, and also as time efficient as possible. And these two things are the basic framework and the key core points of what Onino does in terms of making blockchain much more accessible and user-friendly, and basically initializing a new era of blockchain adoption in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lukas. And with this, let's jump right into the presentation. First is the community shoutout. As always, we are listening, we are watching what everyone's doing and posting. And this time it's Sharkman1027 and D Marco Joe. So thank you very much, guys. You've been super active on Twitter. We've been seeing and noticing your effort. And also thank you to everyone else that hasn't made this list. There's many people that are every day in the chat, that are on Twitter, that are reaching us and shouting us out. So thank you very much for all of that. You are a big part of getting to know, or helping to spread the word of Onino. So thank you very much, as always. So let's have a look in the agenda of today. We are going to talk about the Onino launch recap. We're going to talk about the Onino platform outlook. We're going to give you a network outlook. We're going to talk about the Onino grant program and the Onino ambassadors program. And without further ado, I would say let's jump right into the launch recap.
Thank you very much, Alex. So first of all, also from my side, a happy new year. I hope you all had a great start into the new year 2024. And we thought what could be better suited for the start of the new year than a little recap of our successful launch on the 21st of December of last year. Because on the one hand, it was quite a bunch of products that we released back then. And on the other hand, so close before the Christmas holidays, it might be that some of you might not have really received all the full news of what is going on exactly. So we're just going to make a quick recap what exactly we launched on the 21st of December. And we can jump right in and start with the first one, the Onino testnet. So you just see a little visualization in the form of a MetaMask wallet with T-Oni or test-Oni as we call them on it. So yeah, as you have heard, on the 21st, we first of all launched our Onino blockchain testnet. This is the first full EVM compatible, fully working testnet that we have spun up. And in the future, this testnet is now serving as a foundation for us, so to say, to develop our subchain protocol, which, as Lukas has said before, allows developers to easily spin up their own custom networks that are anchored into our mainnet. And yeah, this is the first testnet we have ever released. There will be further testnet versions in the future. And this is the start, and you can already use it right now, and are happily invited to do so. And how can you do that? For that, we can jump to the next slide. Then we have the second product, like the little helper, so to say, of the Onino testnet, which is the Onino testnet faucet. And as you know, generally a faucet is basically only there for one reason, to allow you to get testnet tokens to test a test blockchain. And as you are used to it from other faucets, you see on the left side, you can simply enter your wallet address, then you have to make a quick captcha for spam protection, and then you can easily receive your first 10 test-only tokens, which you can then use to test our network, build the apps, or use the platform. And we have thought that, hey, it would be cool if you would not only just get the testnet tokens, but on the other hand, also would get the chance to directly explore the network yourself, which is why we have expanded the faucet a bit, which you see on the right side. You can now in our faucet also connect your wallet. And then if you haven't done so, you can directly, with a simple button click, add the Onino testnet to your wallet of choice. And the cool thing here is you don't really need to type in the RPC URLs and all the information as you are used to it from other networks. You can just click the button, add Onino, and then you have our network in your wallet. And then if you want to, if you're up for experiments, you can directly paste in any wallet address and then send your first test-only transaction ever directly from the UI of the Onino testnet faucet. So if you haven't done so, just go to faucet.onino.io and give it a try and get your first test-only tokens and directly try it out at the network and send your first transaction. And of course, if you have any feedback on that, as always, feel free to hit us up. Yeah, and then we have something else regarding the Onino test blockchain, which is the Onino testnet explorer. I think you all might have known it from other networks. This is basically the visualization, the interface from the normal world, from humans to the blockchain, so to say. And they're in a similar UI as you know it from other block explorers. You can easily explore all the transactions there, the balance of your wallet. You can see the latest blocks and everything that is going on the Onino blockchain, including the current ONI price and current gas fees in the testnet. So basically, just feel free to go there, see what's going on in the testnet. You can view all transactions, all blocks, just explore what's going on in the testnet. Yeah, as we have said, it's mostly oriented on the well-known interface that other block explorers have, because just most people are used to it. But contrary to the most blockchain projects, this one is fully self-built and not basically a copy of BSC Scan and the other explorers. It's fully self-built. So we also have the full flexibility to add any features in this block explorer. So if you have any cool ideas, any cool proposals, what you would like to see feature-wise in the block explorer, just hit us up and we'll do our best to implement it as soon as possible. Because we definitely think that the block explorer is an important part of the blockchain ecosystem, as it's, as I said, just the visual interface to interact with the blockchain. So if you have any cool ideas, just hit us up and let us know what you want to see in the blockchain explorer. Yeah, with that, we have wrapped up the testnet and its two complementary products. And now moving on to the other product we have launched on the 21st of December, which is the first version of the Onino Cloud Platform. And as Lukas has already perfectly described it before, the Onino Cloud Platform is basically a SaaS tool that allows you to easily create, develop, and integrate blockchain applications. And yeah, just a quick recap. Basically, you can just easily onboard the platform, sign in with email or also with your wallet if you want to stay anonymous. And then you can easily browse our template gallery, where we have a bunch of professional pre-built blockchain templates, smart contract templates. You can see the details, view all the descriptions, see what the use cases are of these templates. Then you can easily select a template that fits your needs. For example, you could choose to create your own ERC20 token. If that's required, you can also directly in the interface customize your template. For example, if you are creating a token, you can enter the name, the total supply of the token, and so on. Then you can move on to or before you move on, you can, if you want to, manually edit the code, or you can also chat with our AI assistant, who can help you to make any modifications or create new custom code that is not given in a template. And then you can proceed to the deployment phase. This is like in my opinion, the most important part of the Onino platform, because we have made the experience on our own that deployment of blockchain solutions is quite a hustle nowadays. So therefore, we have made special focus to make that as easy as possible. You can easily connect your wallet, as you're known from other D apps. Then you can select between your Onino testnet or other EVM compatible testnets. And then you can easily compile and deploy your smart contracts without having to write a single line of code, and can do everything fully automated in the platform. And then, as some of your developers might know it from Remix, the Ethereum development environment, you can also directly interact with your contracts. So say, for example, you want to deploy a pre-sale contract for making your own token pre-sale maybe, you can then directly from the UI call the function to initialize this pre-sale contract. So you don't have to leave the platform at all, and can basically use the platform for the whole blockchain development process. And then in the last step, we have also provided detailed front-end integration guides where you could now, for example, embed your new created token into your own front-end app, or also into a back-end if you want to, for example, plug it in with your existing IT systems. So yeah, that was just a little example process. As I said before, the platform is basically built to allow everyone in a low-code or no-code fashion to deploy their own blockchain solutions and develop them without writing a single line of code. Yeah, and if you haven't done so, definitely check it out on platform.onino.io. You see the link here down below in the bottom left corner. Just check it out, explore the app, test everything out, and then use the feedback button on the bottom right. You see it here, give us your feedback. Please use the feedback button there to let us know any improvements you would like to see, any features you would like to have, or maybe also if you want to request a template that you would basically like for your own project. Please just feel free to hit us up and send in your template wish here, and we'll do our best to implement it as soon as possible. And yeah, also happy information. We have started on our analytics dashboard, and we have seen that basically right now, at the time of speaking, already over 500 projects were created on the Onino platform, and also the feedback we've received in the forum so far was great. So yeah, that's definitely a sign that we really appreciate that all of you use the platform so happily, and it's very amazing for us to see that you like it so far. Yeah, that was the quick recap of what we have launched in the 21st of December, Onino testnet, and corresponding to that, the Onino faucet, and the blockchain explorer, as well as the Onino cloud platform, allowing everybody to easily build blockchain solutions. And with that, I would say, from a recap, we can just move on to a future outlook. And we will start off with the outlook on the Onino platform. This is just a little high-level overview. We will go more into detail on the upcoming features in the future. But yeah, we just wanted to give you, suitable to the start of the year, a quick outlook on what we have planned on major feature improvements and major feature development in the near future. So first of all, as a part of the development phase and the deployment phase, we have basically planned to use what we call Invisible Web 3, because we are currently working on building first prototypes with a brand new blockchain standard, which is in normal terms called account abstraction. And this is a very cool standard that basically allows you to interact with the blockchain and send transactions, deploy smart contracts, and everything you would normally be able to do in a blockchain without actually having to create a wallet. And it is a bit technical right now, but you can basically think of it like that. You don't really have to set up a new MetaMask and so on to obtain a private key that you can use to interact with the blockchain. But we will just use parts of your email address, or for example, your Google login ID, if you're using Google, combined with a password to generate a private key, so to say, which is then not hosted by us. So it's still fully self-hosted, but you also don't have to take care of the private key, because the private key is just, so to say, assembled from your login data. Let's just say it like that. And that is quite cool, especially for users who have no experience in blockchain so far, because you could basically just go to the platform, sign up, select a template, and when it then comes to development and deployment, you can directly have your wallet created in the platform without having to go through the quite lengthy progress of setting up your own first wallet. So yeah, this is basically a large point of our vision. As we have always said, we want to make the user experience of Web3 as great as the user experience of Web2. And I think this is a major cornerstone for that, to make the interaction with the blockchain less present in the applications, and basically give users the chance to focus on the actual app itself without having to focus on all the hustle that comes with using blockchain in the wallet. And this is why personally one of my favorite features for the future. Then we have another very exciting feature upcoming, which we call right now, still like the development name is Smart Contract Analytics. And this is, so to say, easily put a kind of a Google Analytics for smart contracts. Because we have thought, okay, currently we have the process of the blockchain covered, right? We have the ideation phase. I'm thinking of a project, I'm developing the code, I'm deploying it to the blockchain and then integrating it into my apps. But what is not covered in that process, and which, from what I have seen, most of the other, there's no proper solution to do that out there, is to analyze how your smart contracts basically actually are used, how basically the functions are called, how users interact with your smart contracts in the platform. And this is why we will also, so to say, for after the deployment phase, we'll integrate analytics for your smart contracts. And then say, for example, getting back to the token example, you want to know, hey, how many people have actually made transfers with my token? How many people have actually increased the allowance with my token? You will then be able to analyze all of this data and when, and which point in time, and in which fashion have the users used my smart contracts. You will also be able to analyze all of the usage data of your smart contracts directly from within the Onino platform. So there's not even any use to need to go to block explorers and then in a cumbersome way manually go through the transactions and so on. You will just have a clean and nice analytics dashboard to see exactly how your smart contracts are used in the Onino platform. And then we have two, I think, very exciting features, which are also basically, the first one is more in the direction of the low-code approach. This feature we currently call the one-click app deployment. So just imagine you have deployed your smart contracts now, let's say, for example, a token pre-sale smart contract. And then in the future, we'll also be ready to just not only deploy your smart contract, but also directly clone and launch a pre-built and matching app, like a user front end directly without writing any code for your app, for your smart contracts. So just imagine you have simply selected this token pre-sale template, and you've then deployed your token pre-sale. And now you only have the smart contracts, but what to do with that now? And then there comes Onino to the play, where we have a deploy the matching app button. You can just click on that. The app will automatically load all the information of your smart contracts into the app, and you will have a fully set up running code repository and a deployment on a URL where everybody basically can access your newly created token presale app, for example. And then, of course, later on, you will have full control over the code. You can make your modifications. You can edit the code as you wish. But we just want to give you a perfect boilerplate, a perfect starting ground to not only kick off your smart contract development, but also give you an application that wraps the smart contract into a user-friendly UI. And then as a fourth major feature that is coming, we have the one-click API deployment. This is a bit more technical to explain. So as I said, the first one is basically, I have my smart contracts and now I just get the pre-built app for these smart contracts shipped with it. And the second one is more focused on probably traditional industry customers, because existing companies, especially the one from non-Web 2 and non-Web 3, a lot of times have legacy code systems that they can't really change and that doesn't necessarily provide the possibilities to interact with smart contracts. So let's say, for example, you have a quite old-fashioned Java backend or a rather old, C++ backend system, whatever. Then it's going to be definitely very hard for you to integrate your smart contracts, if you want to, into this legacy code. And this is why we also want to allow for a one-click API deployment. Imagine it like that. You have picked your template, you have deployed it to the blockchain, and now you click on Deploy REST API. And then in the end, the app is loading for a while, is doing its magic, and you are just getting, in the end, an URL that you can send API requests to, including a full-fledged API documentation. Then everybody, no matter how old the legacy system is, can easily integrate the smart contracts via API, via your own custom API, into the legacy code system. So this is also one of the major features that we are planning to basically increase the compatibility of new Web3 systems with existing legacy code systems, and basically fill this gap that especially companies from traditional world currently have. So just a quick summary of the features we are planning for the near future. First of all, in Visible Web3, you can use the platform without even having to create a wallet or managing your seed phrase. Then we will have the smart contract analytics that allow you to easily analyze how your users use the smart contracts directly from the Onino platform. Then we'll have the one-click app deployment that allows you to directly launch a perfectly nice designed and fully working user interface directly tailored to your smart contracts. And we will have the one-click REST API deployment that allows you to easily spin up your own API to interact with the smart contracts, which then allows for easy integration in any system, even legacy code. Yeah, and that was so far with the little outlook for the next upcoming month for the features of the Onino platform. And now I would hand over the ball to Lukas, who is going to give you a similar outlook for the Onino blockchain.
Yes, thank you very much, Kai. We can go directly on to the next slide. So we have listed like 5 main and major milestones that we plan for this year in regards to the Onino main chain release and mainnet release, which is already the first point on the slide. Be aware that this is just a top level visualization of the upcoming milestones, and this is no actual representation of any timeline of such things. And as I touched on already, the main major milestones many of you are looking forward to already is the release of the Onino main chain. So the public launch of our main chain protocol and also the public launch of our node client, where people then will be onboarded and can easily interact with our main chain just like you interact with any EVM compatible network out there. And from there, we can then basically develop and launch our next features, out of which one is the release of our subchain functionality. Our subchains will be the main tool to drive the adoption of blockchain and Web3 in general, and that will be the main tool of our offerings towards enterprises itself, because we have the vision that any enterprise out there can and will one day in the future be able to operate their own native layer 1 as a subchain on top of the Onino protocol through our toolkits, SDKs, and also through the integration into the Onino cloud platform. Our vision is to integrate it in a way that it is as frictionless as possible, so you can, in theory, from your couch, by checking a few boxes, whether it be public, private, or just a test chain running on your local machine, deploy it directly from the couch within a few minutes and have your operating network that basically gets built out of our framework we're providing. Of course, developers that want to make adjustments to their subchain protocols, they will be allowed to. They will also be allowed to integrate their custom coins directly into their layer 1 subchains, which of course will need additional adjustments and will add more complexity to the subchains itself, but the standard framework will be as easily deployable as I described it from your couch sometime in the future. Then the next major feature set that will be released after the launch of our main chain is the validator staking and delegation program. This is, like you know it, programs where any user that is not able to operate his own full node to delegate his stake towards other validators, and then also participate in securing the Onino main chain. Another major point for the year 2024 for the Onino main chain is the exchange integration. This is you know it when you send something to an exchange and then you can withdraw it to a different network. This is the exact integration we are talking about of the Onino main chain and exchange interfaces, which will drive the accessibility of the Onino network even further and is crucial for making or taking the next leap in adoption of our ecosystem itself. And then another major milestone, which will be the kick-off of the development of the WASM virtual machine. So for context, this is the WebAssembly, basically language kit, which marks another milestone when we kick it off towards making blockchain much more accessible, because we will not only be limited to Solidity in terms of a language for writing smart contracts, but in theory, any developer out there will be able to write decentralized applications on top of our main chain, but also sub-chain frameworks. As you see, these are the 5 major milestones we took here on the slide to present to you. Of course, there are a lot of other developments ongoing in the background, a lot of other smaller updates. We will be making updates to the testnet protocol, but these are all not listed on this slide because these are really the major next steps that we take towards making Onino much more accessible and also making blockchain much more accessible to the wider public out there.
All right, perfect. Lukas, thank you very much. Now let's jump onto the two last points, the grant program and the ambassadors program. I'm going to try to hold it not too long. Thank you very much, Kai and Lukas, for going into much detail. I know, or I think most people know what a grant program and an ambassadors program is, so I'm going to keep it rather short. So without further ado, we are announcing that we are offering a grant program of up to 50K. And the two questions I think that you are going to have is who and how. And it's pretty easy. Who is going to be testnet application builders. You can rather build them yourself, or you can build them using the platform to showcase the power. And how? Super easy. Just apply and pitch us your ideas. There will be a type form following for that. You can also write to team@onino.io or just shoot us a DM on X. Super easy. We're reachable, or even here in the Telegram chat. So feel free to just apply if you're a developer that has great ideas, wants to build great applications, and wants to test what the Onino testnet can do and what the Onino platform can do. And yeah, that's how we're announcing the testnet or the Onino grant officially. And it's going to go up to 50K, and the project grant is going to be dependent on what exactly is going to be built. So, and up next, the ambassador program. As many crypto projects have it, or projects in general, it's always great having an ambassadors program because you can give back to the ones that are pushing your community. And I think Zeely was a first step into this direction, but it was more meant to give back to the community. And we've heard it over and over again that you wanted to have an ambassadors program. And we've been seeing on X that many influencers are picking up Onino, are talking about Onino. And the ambassadors program is going to be this possibility to enable future and full cooperation with those ambassadors. And as for the grant program, it's as easy as that. Just simply apply at team@onino.io or reach out via X, and we'll go into discussion with you. You can also reach out via the Telegram chat. So just let us know, and there's going to be more information on the ambassadors program and on the grant program once it officially starts, but we're happy to announce it, and it's going to come very soon. And this is a very interesting one. Who saw it coming? So we have another announcement, and I think it's a rather big announcement, and you've been waiting for it for a long time. We are going to be listing on a CEX, and it's going to come soon, sooner than you may have thought, and it's going to come before the mainnet, although we had always announced it's going to come with or after the mainnet. As you know, we're Germans, we're under-promising and over-delivering. And yeah, I think this is a little surprise for you for the New Year's. Onino is soon going to list on the CEX. We have no detailed timeline yet, but we're really happy to announce that. And more information is going to come as time comes as well. And with this, let's jump right into the question segment. And those questions are regarding the tokens, so I think Lukas is going to take them.
Yes, thank you very much. So, as always, I will keep reading out the questions, and then we will go into answering those questions immediately. The first two ones are rather long questions, so bear with me. How is the emission schedule of any non-inflationary token viable into the future? If adoption does not keep up with reducing emissions, then when the pools run out and you're only making money in fees, then your profits would be severely slashed, so less validators, and eventually no more blockchain is possible. Obviously, the hope is for mass adoption by that time, so the fee payments offset the lack of rewards, but you can't guarantee it will be at that point. So what is plan B? That's a really important question, and it's a really intricate question that is directly tied to the monetary policy of our network and also tied to the monetary policy of any network you see out there that has a fixed maximum total supply of tokens. Just to give a little context in regards to that question, there is always the distinction between inflationary tokens that have a fixed inflationary rate per year, where new tokens are issued to basically subsidize every action within the ecosystem of any network. And then there are also other projects that are deflationary, but we will not touch on those in answering this question. We are mostly looking at the projects that have a fixed maximum supply. And of course, there is always the valid question: what happens if there are no more rewards that can be paid out for validators? Because validators are the backbone of any decentralized protocol out there to upkeep the network and basically make or enable a running blockchain network or distributed ledger in general. And the main theory or the main assumption most people take there is that when that point is reached, the adoption of such an ecosystem will be as far that the sole volume generated through transaction fees is enough to remunerate validators or miners, whatever kind of network you're looking at, to shift the earnings to basically only come out of that single pool, which is the primary pool out of transaction fees, where each share of a transaction gets directly distributed towards the validators. And there's, of course, reasons to be skeptic around that assumption. And there are quite a few options where you can basically counteract a fallout of validators that results out of not being able to pay them enough monetary value for their validation they are performing. One is, of course, the general notion of a fee market that develops itself. So essentially a fee market that allows users to bid higher fees to have transactions basically higher up in the queue. You can imagine this like you can pay a VIP ticket to get a VIP entrance to any venue. This is also the same for transactions, and this is like the general assumption that the market will regulate itself by people paying higher fees, as less validators would be in theory in any ecosystem, and thus higher fees would then regulate these validators even further and would lead to basically having the issuance of token still at an acceptable level to validators. But that is only one option. The other option is, which is something that Onino has focused on from the start, is building secondary income streams and also building secondary income stream possibilities for validators themselves. Because validators, at the end of the day, some are just really supportive of a network, really want to basically play their role in helping a network grow and making a network secure and validating transactions at the end of the day. And then there are just for-profit validators. And these can be also subsidized in additional other income streams. For example, there can be possibilities in stablecoin payments, and then other possibilities, which I will touch on later on when we come to the question section there, that is linked to a feeless chain approach, where you can have fixed monthly payments to validators, which is also an option to counteract the running out of pools or validator pools of tokens. Then another option is, of course, the increase of a minimum fee for transactions, so increasing the threshold of a fee for transactions so that you always have a minimum fee associated with each transaction or operation you perform on a blockchain network, so that you always have the minimum viable payment to validators that still keeps them engaged and still allows them to validate while making profit for the network. And of course, one last example plan is always an update to the monetary policy of a protocol. That, of course, will only happen with the overall consent of a community. But this is always, like we've seen that with many blockchains in the past that have had updates to their monetary policy or monetary token policy. And this is also always an option if, in other words, you can say you really, really, really hit a wall in terms of the options you have with your token pools. And I hope this answered the question to quite some extent. You see, there are always options to counteract these measures. And the best, of course, is reaching a point of adoption where you won't have to think about these countermeasures. The next question is also a quite long one. And the person that wrote this question writes, I understand there's a possibility of no hardware wallet support on mainnet launch. What will happen to users that currently secure their BNB only tokens on devices such as Keystones at the moment when the time comes to migrate from the BEP20 only token on the Binance Smart Chain to the native Onino network? Will users be required to migrate their BNB only token from their hardware wallets to a software wallet that supports the native Onino blockchain? The rest of the question generally is how we will engage in adding support for such hardware wallets, and the question ends with the demand or the question to say, how can we keep the level of security as high as possible, i.e. allowing people to use hardware wallets while migrating to the main chain itself. This is, of course, one of really important fact, and we do see the need for hardware wallet support, for example, for the Airgap vault, Keystone wallets, the Lattice, Ledger, or Trezor, and we are definitely looking into this. But like, there might be a time in migration where this will be not natively supported by hardware wallet operators, because it can be quite a time-consuming process for them to integrate them, and they always basically have to pick out the integrations individually. And there's always the possibility in any time period where it might not be possible for you to directly store any of your tokens on a hardware wallet, to basically use your hardware wallet in combination with, for example, MetaMask, the MetaMask extension for your desktop browser, and thus still have a level of security that comes close to the security of a hardware wallet, but still being able to use the network how you would use any network out there currently. But be assured, we are definitely looking into this, and we will keep you updated once there are updates on that front. Then we can go on with the next set of questions, which is more related to everything around technology surrounding Onino. And the first question is, the testnet seems to be going well. Is mainnet likely to be soon? Of course, soon is always a flexible term, I would say. And yes, the testnet launch was really successful. We had no issues on that front. We are working on onboarding more developers on the network as we speak, and we are also undergoing the phase 1, which is testing the initial capabilities, and are also performing some live and public stress tests on the network. We are looking to actually transition to phase 2, which is the onboarding of selected validators to test our capabilities of the Node client software in February. But we will not be able to give a clear, precise launch deadline for the mainnet until we got a final time commitment from our protocol audit partners, as we do not want to launch any network or any mainnet network before it has been audited, especially with any changes that might still have to be done to our Node client software after testing things. So be aware that when we speak of mainnet coming soon or mainnet coming at the start of 2024, we will be communicating a deadline as early as we allow it, or as we are allowed. And the main thing we are waiting on is basically getting all the audits done, because we always want to have the maximum level of security we can provide to our users and our enterprise partners, that you can use the blockchain with without having to think about any issues or any fear of loss of funds or anything like that. And with that, I believe the next question I can give over to Kai.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lukas. The next question related to the dev team. Are there plans to extend development capacity? There's a lot of work for such a small team. Yeah, that is nicely formulated. You have recognized it correctly. We currently do have a lot of work on our dev team. And the problem is that we have even more on our agenda and planned for the future. So we will definitely be expanding our dev team. Or have already done. As you've seen, we have already hired Andreas on a part-time basis. We are already currently in talks with a lot of very interesting other developers, some in part-time, some in full-time, some related for web development, so for the Onino cloud platform, and also some related to the Onino blockchain, so like proper blockchain protocol developers. So yeah, hiring is, as you know, quite a long process, and we have to make a lot of talks, so to say, to find the right candidates. But yeah, we're currently actively in talks with several developers and on the way to expand our dev team to basically be able to tackle everything that we have planned for the future and all the great plans that we have made for this year. Yeah, and I think the next question is another one perfectly suited for Lukas again.
Yes, thank you very much. Just to put the point of having a lot of talks before hiring someone into perspective, you can always expect something like 50 to 100 interviews before hiring a person with it fits perfectly for a role. So it is a tedious process, but it's well worth it to get the right people, the brightest minds, and the people that are just supportive and really, really stand behind the vision of what Onino does. Going on with the next question. Yeah, it's always a hassle. Can you explain how the layer 1 will progress to a layer 0 with subchain capabilities without another migration? Also a really good question. And I first want to start with clearing things up a little, because in the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months, there was a little bit shift of how people perceive layer 0s and the functionality of general layer 0s. So to clear things up, Onino will not be a fully interoperable layer 0 network, like, for example, the layer 0 network, when you spell it out, itself is a really amazing project that is working towards an omni-chain ecosystem that basically allows to interconnect multiple different chains. But Onino is more aligned with the definition of a layer 0 as it is in a foundational layer to blockchain networks and applications, where layer 1s can be anchored on top of a main chain and easily deployed while having, you could say, a validation on their layer 1 ecosystem and still a validation on their main chain, while making all of these layer 1s that are deployed into that layer 0 ecosystem on top of a main chain immediately interoperable, which is a really, really great selling point, a really great advantage for enterprise specific applications. Because just imagine, let's say, a supply chain solution that could not be interoperable with any other supply chain solution, or if a supplier uses a different network in the same layer 0 ecosystem that you couldn't exchange data in a secure way. This is something our main chain will allow per default for any subchain deployed on it. So I just want to point these intricate details out, that we will not work, or in the near future will not work on an omni-chain ecosystem that can connect any layer 1 that is already deployed out there, but we have a layer 0 in definition in our own ecosystem for everything that is deployed on top of our main chain. And therefore, that does not need to be a migration in order to enable the layer 0/subchain functionality. What can happen and will individually happen will be protocol updates and transitions from the current state of what we see as the Onino testnet to the whole mainnet as a functionality. But like everyone that witnessed different protocol updates during the last few years knows that it's not a full-fledged migration. It is just a rather simple, if you want to put it like this, protocol update. And in fact, we are currently actively working on the first tests for the subchain functionality on the local environments on exactly the same protocol we launched on the 21st of December. So there is no necessity to have another full migration even after the mainnet is launched. And now I will go on to the next question, like that came out of a little discussion that we had in over on our Discord channel, and it is, there was a mention in the Discord channel of potential fee-less subchain. Could you explain the concept of this? This is also, like, I like many of those questions, a really great question. And let me give you a little bit context about the general idea about fee-less blockchains. There are a few projects out there, like most prominently, maybe some of you know Koinos or Scale. And the primary goal of any fee-less blockchain out there is to decrease, on the one hand, the entry barrier, and then also the friction when you're actively using a blockchain, and also make it much more attractive for enterprises itself. Because putting yourself in the shoes of a company, for example, companies always work on a fixed budget, whether it be monthly or a yearly budget, and they do not want to be confronted with like uncalculatable expenses. Like we see it, for example, with different networks out there that under high load and times of high congestion lead to transaction fees that are north of $10 for sometimes. This is where fee-less blockchains really have a space and really have a USP and have such huge potential in the future. And current concepts always involve, you could say, a dummy token. Every concept has its own details how they do it, but I would just generally cover it so everyone can understand the idea of it. And it always involves a dummy token that has no monetary value. So you could say the dollar value of such a dummy token is 0. And it is basically needed to send transactions. But as you pay fees in an artificial currency that has no real value associated to it, so a dollar value of 0, you basically pay a 0 fee transaction. And these are needed to basically, to put it simple, prevent any spam on a blockchain network. And then how you can receive those dummy tokens in concepts that are currently live and public out there. There are a few different things I will just cover two. One is, for example, if you hold a native token of a blockchain network, you will be eligible, for example, to receive such a dummy token. And then you can use this to whatever extent you want and spend the dummy tokens on the network without having to spend the native token that you're holding in your wallet. And all the dummy tokens will then be regenerated to the threshold of the native token you're already holding in your wallet. Another concept, for example, is really putting the workload for the 0 fee transactions not on the user to hold the native token but not spend it, but on the protocol owner / the operator of a fee-less blockchain. So the concepts there is basically set around the idea of operators that are able to distribute a fixed amount of dummy tokens for every user that they then can spend in a fixed time frame when they are on a fee-less blockchain. For example, sending out 100 fee-less tokens per month, and then a user can send 100 fee-less transactions per month. And the way how the monetary policy works and how validators still work, because the fee-less transactions will not generate any value, is that the operators often pay a fixed amount of monthly fees that can be either in native token or in a stable coin or even in fiat currency to validators as rewards for them providing operating power. In these concepts, often there are no direct native tokens involved, but they offer such a huge potential for especially the enterprise side of adoption and making the user experience even greater, because one day you won't even have to accept the transaction, you just send it in sometimes, because you know everything will be handled in the back end and you don't have to accept the spending of any monetary value, because the token has 0 value and the blockchain ultimately has 0 fees. And why is all of these concepts interesting for us? Because we are actively looking into how we can implement fee-less subchain structures into our ecosystem. But be aware, we can't give any details on the intricate workings because it's quite a new field and we want to really be at the top of the research before like launching any kind of feature. So this is still extensive research and development, and this feature, if it will be launched, if it proves itself viable for our customers, it will be launched in the future. So nothing you can expect soon. And another interesting fact that you can look at in that field is the introduction of account abstraction layers. Something Kai has touched on already in the platform, but if you basically take a step back and not look at abstraction layers for accounts from a platform point of view, but look at it from a blockchain point of view, you could be looking at a future where no one would ever have to pay transaction fees when operating on a blockchain, but because these transaction fees will just be hidden from the user and will be completely handled on the protocol level. So we're looking at an exciting time for blockchain in general, and from my personal opinion, one of the next big developments in terms of feelers and account abstraction for the next step of adoption of Web3.
All right, perfect. And with that, on to the last question, which is a marketing-related question. The question is, since announcing new marketing members of the team, there hasn't been much difference. What marketing has been worked on? And yeah, so the answer here is that the current focus was more on working out a concrete marketing plan and strategies to attract more users to different product offerings, which are the blockchain and the cloud platform. And we can tell you that marketing will increase in different fashions over the coming months, and will bring to the platform a respectable state, or will bring the platform in a respectable state, and make it ready for people to go on the platform to use the Onino testnet. So that's going to be something marketing is going to focus on. And on the other hand, we have prepared the Onino Grant program and the Onino Ambassadors program, which we will be launching soon. So as always, doing things behind the curtains, and we'll release it as soon as possible. So be assured we are working on things, and marketing, as we always said, makes most sense once you have a product to market. And we are approaching this stage. We're getting better and better. We're refining the testnet, we're refining the platform. And the more those features will be interesting to a broader spectrum of people, the more marketing you will see. So, and now let's jump right into the live question segment. And I've seen many questions have already been answered. So if you have asked a question, feel free to just repost in the chat so we don't lose it, because there's been many questions and a couple answers already.
Just browsing through the chat. In the meanwhile, maybe while everybody's typing, our valued Yuki Fomo, thank you again for all your great questions as always, has asked several interesting questions. I will just quickly read them out. Yuki has asked, where will the backend API, so to say like the REST API in the Onino platform, be hosted? And he asked if it will basically be deployed on somewhere, so to say, or if the platform just gives you the code and you have to host the API yourself. So the latter, that you get the code and you can host it yourself, that we have already right now. So if you just jump onto the platform and explore a project, maybe just deploy your ERC20 token with a template, and then move to the integration phase, you will see that we already have an Express.js guide there, where you basically have exactly that, what you mentioned, Yuki. We have directly the code that you need for your REST API, and have a step-by-step guide on how to deploy it on, for example, Heroku, so that in the end, you will just get a REST API that you can plug into any application or any system that you have. And in the future, we plan to make that also fully automated, that you basically just, simply speaking, have to press the button, and in the end, the platform will spit out a URL for you, an API documentation, and you're good to go. And then there was another great question by Yuki, basically regarding the future feature of the subchain deployment in the Onino platform. Like basically if there will be any difference why people and when people should deploy on the Onino mainnet or on their own custom subchain, so to say. Also a great question. Thank you for that. And that we can just answer that totally depends on the use case you're building, right? There's use cases where it's totally enough that you just use the public Onino mainnet, or you even want the public Onino mainnet for better visibility for your application. There's also, on the other hand, there's use cases where it just makes a lot more sense to have your own custom subchain running. For example, say you have to fulfill certain regulatory aspects that you have to put on your nodes in the subchain. Or basically you have a very performance critical application and you want to avoid the noisy neighbor problem and basically want to avoid that your app gets congested when the mainnet gets congested. So that's also a potential case where a subchain makes a lot more sense. So you see, it's not that easy. There's like some cases that are totally fine on a new mainnet and some where a custom Onino subchain is better suited. And we will definitely do our best to automate that process as good as possible and automate this decision, so to say. So on the one hand, we'll definitely provide detailed guidelines for basically when to use what, like a questionnaire, so to say, you can go through. And we will also in the future when this feature will be released in the farther future, we'll have another specialized little AI assistant that is trained on consulting you on what is the best solution here for your specific use case. Hope that answered the question, Yuki. Okay, just browsing if we have any more questions.
I'm seeing one. It's already far down, but not sure if there's any more. Moonrhythm is asking, is there already a project that will launch a DEX? And as far as we know, so I think you are referring to the Onino testnet or the mainnet, as it makes more sense. Not really. So feel free to build your own if you want, or get in touch with the people that would like to build theirs. There will be exchanges on our platform. So looking for the ones that want to build some, and the grant program could be something perfect for that, for example. It's a great idea. So I think one interesting one that many may be asking is what would be the reason for validators if there are no transaction fees? And I think Yuki here is referring to what Lukas explained, that there may be the option or will be the option for feeless subchains. And maybe Lukas, you can give an insight here.
Yes, like as I mentioned, I can only talk about concepts. Nothing is set in stone. But that will basically shift the burden of basically paying validators away from the protocol level of automatic distribution towards the making the protocol owner take on the workload of distributing fees. And I can just speak again how it was currently. It is often a simple monthly payments towards validator that keep upkeeping the network, and then they do not get a share in native tokens in the most times, but it's more of a stable coin payment to validators. But as I said, that's no means any representation of what we will be doing in that field. It's just current concepts that are flying around.
All right, perfect, Lukas. Thank you. So I think the next one is from Master Wazo. Don't know much about testnets and such, but how do you guys make sure it's secure? Are pen testers hired? You guys go with known exploits? Curious how it goes, or maybe my question is dumb. Any network exploits kill good projects? No, it's not a dumb question. I think it's a great question.
Not at all, yeah. It's actually exactly the right question. Yeah, very good question. That is what you described basically is the whole purpose of the testnet, so to say, that you perform penetration tests, you check for any known exploits and so on. You try to hack your own network, basically, so to say. So this is definitely like the whole process of the testnet. That is exactly what a testnet is about, that you don't have any potential weaknesses or have basically killed any potential weaknesses or weak points before you go into a mainnet phase, because in the mainnet there's actual value behind the network, right? And this, as you said, this is the point where an exploit can kill the network. This is why you have also in the proper projects a rather long testnet phase, so that you can be 100% sure that you have, so to say, fixed anything that could lead to a, I would call it mainnet disaster. And this is also one of the largest aspects that is, so to say, like moving the mainnet launch date to the back, because basically before launching a mainnet, we definitely want to conduct a proper and professional security audit, which is not only expensive, but also taking a lot of time, just to make sure that there will be no exploits as soon as the mainnet has launched. And there was another one right after it, was already answered in the chat, but I'm just going to read it out because it's quite interesting. Does it mean companies could use a subchain if they have sensitive data that shouldn't be publicly available? Exactly. That is, as Lukas said, exactly one of the main selling points, so to say, and one of the main advantages in our enterprise-grade blockchain system that companies can leverage. Exactly what you described.
All right. Are there any more questions? I don't see anyone typing. Give you a couple more seconds, and if not, I'm going to be the boo man again and going to end the chat. Ha, Yuki's typing. Got one
Yuki
more.
has deployed his old meme coin. Amazing.
You know we can't answer that question. Okay, Tom is typing as well. Suspense.
Wow.
Great job, team. Keep it going. Thank you very
No
much.
questions from Tom today? I'm suspicious.
All right, so I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. This has been a great AMA or great community update and the first of this year. So be excited for at least 11 more and looking forward to all your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in a question form and we will see you next month. As always, keep in mind, this is no 100% set in stone information, no investment advice or everything else. So little disclaimer here. But as you know, we try to do our best here and, and give you the most accurate and adequate information as possible. So thank you very much. Have a great evening and talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for joining, everybody. It was great talking to you. Thanks for all your questions. And please, again, the call, give us all the feedback that you have and all the feature ideas you have. You can just drop us a DM in Telegram, write us an email, or just use the feedback form directly in the Onino platform.